Good morning, everyone. My name is Elmer Moore, and I'm the project team leader for ScaleUp Milwaukee, and I'm excited to welcome you to another edition of Meet the Masters, today with Andy Nunemaker. It's important to understand why we're doing this. ScaleUp Milwaukee is a project focused on making this region a better place for businesses to grow. And we do that with targeted efforts towards categories of stakeholders and all those that participate in the entrepreneurship ecosystem. We have the Meet the Masters series because we think it's important for business owners, employees, and all those around them to understand how to grow businesses. And we use our Meet the Masters series as an example from those who have done that, and an opportunity for them to share their experience. So again, thank you, welcome, and enjoy.
Thank you very much, and thanks for coming out. And Andy, thank you in advance. As some of you experienced, these are conversations. So Andy and I will start off having a conversation between the two of us, and as quickly as you can, please get involved. And I've spent the last couple of days reading and watching everything online that I could possibly find about you, including all of your Facebook
Hopefully
posts.
not everything.
All of your Facebook posts for the last 12 months. And so let's start just very quick, quote unquote, credentials. Business, what have you done? Headline. And then we'll go back to the formative years.
Yeah, business-wise.
Yeah, EMS, Dynamis.
Yeah.
Why are you a master at growth? What's
I started out the old traditional way with big companies, SBC, which is now AT&T, General Electric, and never really had the entrepreneurship bug. But the criteria or the chronology is worked at AT&T, went and got an MBA, worked at GE, learned how to be a leader on someone else's dime, and once I built up enough skills, I felt it was time that I could go and make the leap. So we did EMSystems first in 2004.
And we'll come back to all this in detail, so yeah.
All right, and then ran that for about 7 years and ended up selling that in 2007. And then started Dynamis in 2012, which is what I'm working on right now.
And raised money, and that's we
can get into all
that's
of
the
that.
Future growth story.
Yep, exactly.
And so EMS, I found online that the sale price is confidential, and therefore it's $115 million, right about $115 million.
Everyone in town knows what
yeah.
it was.
It's once it gets out, it's like a poke in a balloon. And so that's significant. Just in terms of revenues, people, give us a thumbnail sketch.
Yeah, and it actually was only 57 million. So
okay.
that was the number. I don't know where the stories come from. Maybe George exaggerates or can't remember exactly. No, we started with 5 people and less than $1 million in revenue. And in the first 3 years, we were owned by the Golden Angels. Grew it to about 7 million in revenue, 3 million in earnings. Did a leveraged buyout. So Golden Angels got 7 times their money out in 3.5 years, brought in a private equity firm, did a few acquisitions, and then did what they call a 3-bagger 3 years later.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll come back down. I'm sure there are questions, even though a lot is out there. People are curious. Formative years, go way back. What are some of the key events or experiences, way back even family life, that have had an impact on you, working, not working?
You know, it's funny. Someone, undergrad, just called me and said, "Okay, how do I get from where I am to where you are in the next 20 years?" I'm like, you can't script that out, right? I didn't script it out. It was all just kind of right place, right time. But then I think you kind of make your own luck as life goes on. So my parents didn't go to college. I was good at math and science. My high school guidance counselor said, "Well, you're good at math and science, go into engineering." I didn't know any better, so I did. And went into engineering, and I got a few engineering co-op jobs and realized I hated it. And
you hated which part, the engineering or the work?
The engineering. Okay. The work is okay.
No,
I don't mind work. I don't mind work, but the engineering, I can't do accounting. I can't be a lawyer. I can't be an engineer. It's just not the way my brain works. So I went into business and got a business degree and loved business and kind of decided that's going to be my career.
So what surprised you more, getting into Valpo or getting into HBS?
Yeah, of course, no one expects to get into HBS, but here's the thing. I mean, a buddy of mine got in who was in the same AT&T program as me, and I'm like, well, you're no smarter than me. We've had the same experiences. If you can get in, maybe I'll get in. And that's the only reason I applied. I would never have applied had he not gotten in the year before. I wouldn't have even thought of applying.
So going back to the childhood, did you work when you were a kid? Did you?
Yeah, I had a lawn mowing service, so I
Okay.
grew up on the northwest side. For anyone who knows, 81st in Lisbon, and I remember. I was 15 years old, and the lady down the block, her husband died that winter. So as soon as the snow melted, I ran and knocked on her door and said, "Hey, do you need someone to mow your lawn?" And she said, "Oh, I was just thinking and praying about what I would do this summer, so thank you." And that was my first lawn mowing gig. And before you knew it, I had about 30 lawns, and my dad was my first employee.
So you actually, how did that go?
It went well. He actually gave me all the money, so it worked out really well.
There's got to be a new term for that.
Yeah.
An internship. You gave him an internship.
Exactly, an unpaid internship.
And so a lot of entrepreneurs, when they look back, they see work as one of their formative experiences. Some of them see tragedy, others see the opposite. They see comfort and support. What was it for you?
You know, it was interesting. And by the way, I gave him a free gym membership is the way we should look at it.
In addition to mowing the lawn, he had to go then work out.
No, that was his workout. I remember the feeling I got when I would be pushing my lawnmower down the alley, going to all these different houses, and a few of the older folks in the neighborhood would pull me aside and say, "You know, I see you do this every night, and I see you working really hard," and they're like, "You're gonna go places. I'm really proud that you're doing that while all your friends are running around playing on the playground." So, and it made me feel good as a kid, and that kind of, I think, helped with the work ethic.
Okay,
It was just a feeling of pride and wanting people to think you're doing a good job.
And did the money matter at all?
I know. I ended up buying. I mean, back then I didn't need money. I mean, I didn't know what you could buy with money because we didn't have any. So I'd buy my parents gifts and buy my sister gifts. And for me, it was all spent on gifts for people like Christmas because that's what you did with money.
Great. So moving forward a little bit, experiences at Valpo. You went back. You made a commencement address, or
A few years ago.
And a few years ago,
Yeah.
and then also at HBS, you had that. How did those educational experiences
So,
influence
you know, to me, education is education. What you learn in the books, you could learn. What you learn at Harvard, you could learn anywhere here in town from the books. And Marquette, by the way, Marquette and UWM are excellent MBA programs. The things you learn in the classroom and through the books, you can learn anywhere. To me, it was the experiences with the network and the things you do outside the classroom that made the difference. So at Valpo, the Sigma Chi fraternity and founding that and starting that from scratch and then now seeing something flourish that we all started ourselves was really rewarding. Volunteering for the Boys and Girls Club and helping the kids, that was really rewarding. So when I look back at Valpo, yeah, I had some great professors and learned engineering, but the really rich experiences were outside of the classroom. So the thing I tell the college folks nowadays, I'm like, yeah, do your job, which is to learn, but every extra bit of energy, try to practice leadership and practice servant leadership and practice service, and then you get into the habit and it'll just carry the rest of your life. And I was lucky that it was just fun for me to do that at an early age. I certainly didn't have some, pre-described path that, if I practice leadership here, good things are going to happen 10 years later.
So, but it felt good. It felt
good.
You seem to have enjoyed it from.
And it was fun. I mean, fraternities are fun, right, Matt?
But you're going to tell some stories.
I didn't know he was going to be here.
So the leadership skills you actually, which come out so strongly in your sort of like snapshot of today of Andy Nunemaker, those really started way back when,
Yeah.
and carried, in some sense, carried you forward. Because one thing that certainly sticks out about you is you seem to love to organize things, to get people
Yeah.
together, to
And let
work
me
on
be
causes.
clear about this. That's reflective thinking back. At the time, it was just right place, right time. It looks like something interesting to do, and it looks like it could make a positive impact, so I just did it.
So if I may ask, you're in your mid-40s, right?
Yeah. Facebook will not tell you that.
That's right. Well, I looked, but I
Is
sort
this
of do
being
math.
recorded?
This is being video recorded. So if Andy Nunemaker, 45, knowing what you know now, and it's a little bit of a difficult question, met Andy Nunemaker at 18, 19, 20, what would you tell him?
Gee, that's a trick question.
It is.
Because there's the, what do they call it, the butterfly effect? I mean, what the heck? I don't know. I don't think I'd want to do much different. I would have made a few different choices. I would have been myself a little more earlier on. But from a business career standpoint, the engineering degree put me in a position to get the job at AT&T, and that put me in the position to go to HBS, put me in the position, and it all built on itself. And I'd be afraid I'd screw something up if I told myself to do anything career-wise and business-wise different.
So what is is there a takeaway there about even not even listening, not in getting sort of that kind of advice from your older self?
The takeaway is be very thankful for the life that you've led, and I'd be hesitant to change anything. That said, if I knew when we founded EMSystems what I know now, we would have done things differently. We would have grown it faster.
Okay.
If I knew now what I know now, if I knew 3 years ago, Dynamis would be in a different place, and we wouldn't have needed a second round from our investors, and we would probably be even stronger than we are today. So there are lessons that you can learn in business that you can reapply and hopefully apply the next time.
So
around.
let's drill down into a couple of those.
Yeah.
So what EMS? What would you have done differently?
EMS, I would have doubled down and grown faster. We were a bit hesitant. We were very cautious.
Why?
And we were in what they call a blue ocean. No one else was doing what we were doing. Well, we took our investors' money and we wanted to make sure it lasted, and we wanted to be profitable from day one. I don't know why. That's what I thought businesses did. Had I known, no, double down. You don't need profits your first few years. You need to invest and grow, and the profits come. We would have doubled down. We would have hired more salespeople. We would have gained more market share and had then more resources to build out faster. We could have doubled the return for the Golden Angels if we had that strategy. I didn't know that at the time. Mm-hmm. Golden Angels were happy with their 7 times return, but imagine how happy they'd be with 14 or 15.
Mm-hmm. So did you apply any of those lessons to Dynamis?
Yes, and it backfired. So with Dynamis, we said, well, let's go full forward. Let's hire a sales team. This is great. And we didn't do our industry research. We didn't have a product. We had a basic beta product. We didn't even have a minimally viable product, and we created a commercial team around vaporware, and they sat there and the customers didn't come. And so we scurried to build the product, but we blew through, I've said this publicly, we probably blew through close to $1 million in scaling the commercial team that didn't pay off. And that's money now that we've got to recoup somehow. And we didn't take that much to start it. So that's a big hit to the original investors.
And do you think you made that mistake again? It's hindsight.
It is hindsight.
We understand that. But do you think you made that mistake in part because of what you learned from, you thought you learned from
Thought
EMS?
I learned. So there's now, the third time around, I think my thinking here is when you're a pure startup, you fail fast. It's the lean startup methodology. You experiment, you fail fast, you A/B test. And then, when you get it right, and the way you know you've got it right is strangers are buying at list price, right? When you're new, I can get my friends and family to buy anything, and I can give anything away. But when strangers are paying list price, now it's scalable and repeatable. Then you invest in the commercial side, then you invest in growth. And as long as you've got your assumptions validated on customer acquisition cost and longevity and all of that stuff, lifetime value of the customer, then it's really a math game and the game of getting the right people in the right place and executing.
So so the mistake was that you thought you had something that you didn't.
Yes, exactly. We didn't test enough. We didn't do enough market testing and market validation, and we started scaling too soon. With EMSystems, we didn't scale fast enough, even though we had all of that data. We were just too cautious, and this was my mistake, not anyone else's, thought we've got to be profitable day one. And we didn't.
So the role of, even though you might not listen to your own elderly advice,
I don't want to screw any of that old stuff up, but from a business standpoint, of course you've got to learn from your mistakes. And we've made them, and we're learning from them, and I think we're better off.
One of the things that struck me in a couple of your YouTube presentations is that despite what you tell us now, you did listen. There were mentors around. There were people that sort of got you into shape and woke you up. Can you say a little bit about the importance
look, if
of
anyone
that?
tells you they did it on their own without mentorship or guidance, they're they're either delusional or lying. Everyone needs help. I was fortunate to have some amazing mentors in my life.
Some examples.
In my professional life, I had two phenomenal bosses. My first boss at GE, Dennis Cook, he made 80% of his job was making sure that our team, his direct reports, flourished and felt comfortable in our careers and felt we had a good future at GE. He spent almost all of his energy, it felt like to me, helping us and helping us flourish. We would stay till 11 o'clock at night and wouldn't bat an eye. We'd do anything for that guy. And my last boss at GE, a guy named Bob Cancelosi, amazing leader. He's a leadership guru. I don't know if I could tell this story, it's being televised, but the day I was going to go join EMSystems, and I went in and said, Bob, I think I'm giving you my 2 weeks notice. He cleared his calendar. We went to Delafield Brew House. It was like 1 p.m. He cleared the rest of his day, and we spent the rest of the time. The first hour, he was like, come on, Andy, how can we keep you at GE? And once he learned what I was doing, he turned and said, well, what can I and what can we do for you? You've done a great service for GE over the past 6 years. How can we help you be successful in your new venture? I mean, I tell you, now, who wouldn't be a proud alumni of GE after mentorship and leadership like that? I mean, I couldn't think of a better parting, and that's because of his leadership and his wisdom.
So those were from GE. There were some others later.
Obviously, I don't know if anyone knows, most people should know Tim Keene. Tim Keene runs the Golden Angel Network. He was the entrepreneur in residence at Marquette University. He was a mentor of mine way back when I was at GE, and he was running a company called RTMS. He took a few of us under his wing. He said he wanted to learn how these new kids think, this Generation X and Generation Y. And so we just struck up a friendship, and he said, I'm doing this as much for myself as I am for you. I'm going to mentor you. You're going to get free mentorship. I'm going to get in your head so that the folks of that generation, my company, I can connect with them better, was I think his strategy. Became a great friend, and eventually I joined Golden Angels, and he said, hey, we got this company, EMSystems. They want to turn themselves into a real company. We'll only do it if you'll come in and lead it. So we put that together, and he's been a mentor every step of the way. He was just over at my house for dinner a few nights ago. An amazing guy.
Is it of the same genre as George Cook and Bob from GE, where you feel supported, or is there also tough love?
Well,
involved?
Tim is a tough love kind of guy for anyone who knows him. Tim will punch you between the eyes to make sure you get the message. If he dances around it, he's afraid the message isn't going to sink in. So he's the kind of guy that's going to tell it to you straight, make you quiver and shiver and almost cry, but then you got the message.
And there were, please feel free to chime in either comments or questions.
George has seen Tim in action.
I'm doing too much of the heavy lifting here. But I'll look for your hand when you're ready, George. There's another, Sue Marks.
Well, Sue Marks, of course. Sue Marks was on our first board of directors. She's a great woman. I've taught in the Marquette MBA program for 12 years. Sue came into my class every single year. She never said no. She opened up, was as real as you could be with these students. And at the end of the day, they said, oh my gosh, I want to work for her. Oh, I would never work for her, but she tells it like it is. And I love Sue. When we were starting EMSystems, I said, well, I can do Excel. I did engineering. I'll be the CEO and the CFO. Now we all know how that's going to end up, right? And Sue said, well, you're either incredibly arrogant or incredibly stupid. I'm going to go with naive, and we're going to get you because you've never done this before.
She used those words.
We're going to get you a CFO. Yeah, she used those exact words with me, and she was right, of course. But she was also, she'd tell it like it was. She's got so much wisdom, and she's just not afraid. If she's in there on the board, she's going to help you. She's not on the board to just nod and say everything's fine.
Comments, questions, memories? Can you identify yourself?
Erica Conley, C2. I recall seeing some letters, some chronological letters of you corresponding with GE early on.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk about that? Because I just found that to be such a great kind of reflection of how you operate. And
Well, I have 2 letters from GE hanging in my office. The first is when I was a junior at Valpo, I was applying for an internship at GE, and so I picked GE Medical Systems because it was in Milwaukee. I could live at home, And it took about one interview, and a week later I got a very short letter from Nan Shepard saying, thank you for your interest. Unfortunately, all the positions are filled. Apply next year. And for some crazy reason, I kept it. And then 10 years later, I was applying for GE, and Jeff Immelt was interviewing me for this job with Dennis Cook. And Jeff, the amazing, brilliant man he is, said, I'm going to have Jack write him a letter. That should do it. And so Jack Welch wrote me a handwritten recruitment letter saying, Jeff really wants you on his team. How can I help? And I was showing it to all my friends at school and was so proud of it. So 10 years later, I guess times change, right?
But GE was actually a big formative experience for you as well. Even though on one of your presentations you talked about it was an easy job, you got paid a lot. You were being facetious.
Well, it was an easy job because that's where I learned to practice delegation. And the way I practiced delegation was got to know everybody and was pretty social at GE, and everyone thought, oh, Andy throws great parties, he's so much fun. Well, really, in the back of my head, I was thinking, okay, who do I want on my team next time? And then I would hand pick the best ones, and we'd do great things, and it was really easy to practice delegation. You know, the other GE Jack thing, this is right place, right time. So this is where everyone was, oh, how'd you get to be the CEO of GE Australia, which is the cushiest, coolest job ever?
Why is that?
Oh, because at the time it was just Australia and New Zealand, then it became Southeast Asia. You're just running around meeting CEOs and heads of state and departments of health, and you're the friendly face, and once in a while we lose a part, and then you gotta go like bow down before them and apologize. And the team did all the work. Again, a little bit facetious, but once you get the right team in place and get them going and give them the right structure, great things happen. So Jack Welch, first time I met him, we're in Crotonville, and we'd had a couple of drinks, and we're at the happy hour, and he had just called all the expats home, and I said, well, Jack, I've got a point of contention with your stance on expats. And he's like, Andy, what's my stance on expats? I said, well, you're calling them all home, and you need them when you do an acquisition, and you need to infiltrate the GE culture. When you move into new geography, you've got to do it with your own people. You can't train the GE culture. He said, well, I agree 100%. I'm like, well, why are you calling them all home? He goes, oh, we've overcorrected. So within an hour, he told the pit of 400 people, hey, Andy and I were talking. This is what I really meant. The next day, there was a new stance on expats, company-wide, and a week later, they offer me CEO of GE Australia, the sweetest expat job. That's not a coincidence. That's the right place, the right time. And that's how Jack and that company operated. And furthermore, now they come and visit me and they go, you know, things are tough here. And I went, I know, this is tough. We're going to turn it around. And the head of HR of all of GE said, now, you know, Andy, we could have put some 50-year-old in this job and we probably would have gotten better results sooner. But this is us betting on you. And this is us investing in your future with GE because we think you're going to be a great leader here. Now, who wouldn't, again, go to the ends of the earth for a company like that? They got it right. And I try to practice that with my own very small team wherever I can.
George? That's George Mosher.
What's obvious to me more than ever before is that Andy's personality and the fact that everybody likes Andy and he treats everybody well and he knows how to bring fun around him has made it so that people reach out, and then when they see his competence, they give him the opportunity. A nice personality without competence is trouble. But you combine the two and it's much stronger than just competence by itself.
And your payment is coming afterward. Thank you.
But
And George is one of our investors in Dynamis.
So that's actually, those are two traits that are a little bit hard to mix because sometimes competence forces you to try to shape other people to be different than what they are. They can become more competent, and that has tension in it. But also being a fun person, an interesting, exciting person to be around, they don't always mix. Mixing, having both of those traits together is kind of a killer combination, I think. And please keep the questions coming. I'm trying to look for hands, but I'm having such a good time. So startup versus scale up. It's not really a dichotomy, but you alluded to that earlier on in EMSystems and also in Dynamis. But as I understand it, neither EMSystems nor Dynamis is what we stereotypically look at today as the typical startup. Neither of them is you're sitting down, coming up with an idea, maybe
yeah.
with a couple other people, and then going out, doing the testing
Yeah.
and raising capital and bringing people.
Yep.
It doesn't fit that model.
It doesn't, but it does. So everyone knows I'm not the idea guy. That's just not my role in the world. My role is to pair up with the idea people and try to make something out of that, either as an investor and an active investor, or sometimes as a co-founder. And so I think a startup requires different skills than a scale-up. A startup requires patience and analysis and being able to do the A/B testing and reap the learnings from that so you can make the right decisions and nurture it to a position so that you can scale it. And scaling then requires different skills. It requires talent recruitment and training and empowering and leading in a different way, and energy. And so the inventor who thinks of the idea rarely has the same skill set as the early stage and then the growth person. The growth person rarely has the same skill set as when the company makes it to 100 million and beyond. And that's where I'm out. When the company gets to that point, I'm out, because then I'm watching PowerPoint presentations and I'm falling asleep, and it's just the company takes you over. That's where, you know, some of the stuff I learned at GE is useful, and some of the stuff I learned at GE I never want to do again.
Yet is that a hand?
Did you grow EMS to sell it? Was that always the intent?
Well, and that's a whole different story, but we grew our companies, EMS and now Dynamis, for return for our investors. That's really the reason these companies exist. Yes, it did good, and yes, it linked ambulances with hospitals, and it saved lives, and that was wonderful. And it helped us recruit people who wanted to dedicate their career. People who thought, I can make more of a difference at EMSystems than I could as an individual practitioner. Fantastic, and we created a platform for all of that, and it was really easy to feel good about what you were doing. Dynamis, well, we're essentially a hyped up configuration engine for health insurance. We're like the Expedia for group health insurance, and we make it easier to sell health insurance, and we make it easier to buy it, but that's not saving the world. But we're also gonna make a bunch of money for our investors, and we're gonna teach a bunch of people how to be entrepreneurs. So when we hire people, one of the appeals, I think, because it seems to be working, is, all right, you come and work for us and you'll get a salary and you'll get trained and you'll do your job, but you're also in such a small setting that you're going to learn entrepreneurship. So I'd say half of the people at our company right now are there because eventually they want to go off and do this themselves, and they want to learn from me and from the founders and from the management how you do it.
But I want to pick up on Erica's point, because you've said in other presentations that the most important thing is satisfying your investors.
I do say that, and I
say
know
more
that
about that.
flies
It's not
in
popular.
It's not popular, but that's the way we think about it. And look, how do you satisfy your investors? By having super happy employees who love coming to work and love doing what they do and feel empowered and feel like they're making a difference and feel like they're going to grow the company and share in its success. And then when you have the right team, you can't help but delight the customers.
Well,
and the successful company, and the only company that can scale, is a company that scales off of its customers' money, not off of its investors. And so the end game is satisfy the investors, but the means is by creating a team of amazing people and delighting your customers.
Well, I think your honesty in saying it that way is refreshing, because we hear a lot of talk of purpose-driven. Your eyes just rolled up. Explain.
You know what? My theory is, all right, we'll allow our workforce to give to UPath, all right, and we encourage our workforce to go out in the community and be a good part of the community, whether it's in their church or for nonprofits or whatever. My theory is, we're going to make a bunch of money for our investors. Hopefully I'll make some as well, and then I'll do good on my own with that money for the symphony or the art museum or whoever it might be. And the employees and the investors can do good with their piece of the pie.
So make the shareholders wealthy enough so that they can make some choices about what they do. And you certainly have made a lot of those choices.
I do.
Yourself.
I mean, 20% of my stake is in a nonprofit foundation that I can't touch. And and I think that sets an example for folks that, hey, anyone who can't live off of 80% of what they make is doing something wrong. And I think it sets a good example for the millennials that we're bringing in. about saving and about being philanthropic and giving. But the company has never sponsored anything other than our partners and our clients' stuff. That's just not the business we're in. So a nonprofit in town won't get anything from us. It's just because our money is going to refuel the company and grow and making
from us
the
as a company.
whole.
And
From us as a company.
Yeah.
Yep.
So as at a company, you won't decide for your employees what are the right social causes.
No.
You'll be profitable enough by creating value that they can
Correct.
make those choices.
And that's just our personal choice as a company.
Just identify yourself.
Joe Mayakia, patent attorney with DeWitt. Question I have for you is, what advice do you have for Gen X, Gen Y, business professionals in coaching millennials, in business and even with a focus on entrepreneurship? What do you find are effective techniques in helping the millennials along? Because I find there's that just kind of disconnect between how we think a little bit.
Yeah, I've certainly not solved that one. Now we have a great group of millennials, and interestingly, we think we have a fun culture and an open culture, and one of the millennials just described our culture as insular because she's a new hire in a new division and the only one in the office, and we're quickly moving other millennials into that office because, like, whoa, insular isn't that's not a positive. And we think we've got this great culture we're building. So
She was the Andy Nunemaker with Jack Welch.
we're learning from the millennials. I mean, of course you can learn anywhere. But what we're learning is how they want to work, I think. Yeah, millennials want to be a part of something and want to contribute, but they also want to enjoy the experience. They won't come in and do some drudge work all by themselves and be totally isolated and leave saying, oh, I did really good individual work. They want to feel a part of something and want to be a part of a team is what I'm learning, at least the ones we're hiring. And we've got to rethink about how we create the work environment, how we lay out the office, how we interact, how we become more transparent, and how we make the place fun. See, for us, succeeding and winning is fun. For the sales team, ringing that sales bell when we get a new deal is fun, but that's not the same kind of fun for the rest of the team. And we certainly have not cracked that case yet.
I'm Pat Farrell. My background's marketing communications. At what stage in ScaleUp, obviously not so much in a startup, but in ScaleUp, would you engage like marketing and getting that
Early.
going and what are some of the tactics and things that you use?
So what we've learned, and again, now this is not industry specific. In any business that has a sales team, what you want to do, if you have any type of a skill of a sales team, ours has a team of inside sales that are essentially making what you used to call cold calls, setting meetings for the outside sales team to go and close. And that's our model. But before that, that's where the marketing comes in. Getting our name out there. Shooting out targeted emails with messages to our potential clients that add value, creating ebooks and things like that, and then tracking their activity. So when the inside sales team calls now, it's not, oh, hi, this is Molly. You don't know me, but I'm from Dynamis trying to sell you something. It's, oh, hi, this is Molly. I noticed you read our ebook on growing your agency. I think we can help. All right, now you're actually offering them something. You're turning the table so that it looks like they called you for help. That's the power of B2B marketing. And we certainly have used that early on, and it's been very powerful.
So you used an inbound marketing campaign to really get people to engage?
Yeah, and we use outside firm for that. So again, when you're scaling, you don't need a full-time marketing person. You need the right marketing firm to give you the right amount of time. You don't need a full-time general counsel. You need the right legal work at the right time. Same with the accounting, same with all of those professional services. Now we pay good money for the best people for those types of roles, but we use it variably. So we use it as we need it. And we do that with our CFO who's part-time, with our CTO who's part-time, our developers, our contract, until we get to the point that we know we can keep that hire forever.
Andy, is there a difference between, as you think about Dynamis in the next 5 to 10 years, is there a difference between building a company so that the shareholders will make money eventually, or building a company that may have self-sustaining value and growth?
Well, to me, that's the same thing. So you need to grow a company that's going to have self-sustaining value and growth if you ever want to get a return out of it. Because no one wants to be left holding the bag. You're not going to build a company that's going to peter out and say, oh, I can trick the buyer to thinking this will grow forever even though I know it won't. And I think the way you do that is by smartly reinvesting. So for example, EMSystems had a product that quickly grew to 80% market share. Guess what? You can't double that next year, right? That's just what the math says. So you have to come up with another product and another product and another one to keep the, either you go into other markets or you come up with other products for your market to keep the growth going. With Dynamis, we have a very low market share and we have a very strong runway. But hopefully someday we're going to hit a point because it's, again, a blue ocean. No one else is doing what we're doing and we're adding tremendous value to our clients. We're doubling their sales rates. We're doing some great things for them. That's going to catch on. And pretty soon it's going to be the standard. So then we're going to have to decide, okay, what do we do? We're running out and now everyone's using us. Well, the logical step would be coming up with other solutions. If we truly are adding value to our clients and they love our service and they love our product and they love our people, in theory, they'd want to buy other things from us.
And then will you behave like an entrepreneur again? In other words, you described a dichotomy between startup and scale up.
And then it's going to be a little mini startup as a product. And we're going to get it right before we get it out in the market. And we'll do all those things better than we did the first time.
So I want to question whether this is as much of a dichotomy as it may seem, sort of the skills for starting up and the skills for scaling up. I'm just this question,
no, I think
are they really that different?
You're right. Once you've got the scale, then you make little mini startups to fuel the growth. And I think that makes perfect sense. And that same skill set has to be there for those mini startups or they'll have just as much a chance of failure. And hey, by the way, with EMSystems, we had 2 great products that we tacked on that did really well. We had a few that we tried and we shoved them under the rug.
Like startups.
Doesn't always work.
Right. So we have time for one last question. What didn't we ask or didn't we talk about?
Moving bigger picture, I guess, to the climate within the city, let's say. It seems like you had a lot of opportunities through mentorships and opportunities that sort of sent you far along, right? To get some experience, you know, cut your teeth a little bit on some other things. So bringing it back home now, from a philanthropic standpoint, but also from a business climate standpoint, and the need to take risks for our city. What's your best advice for any number of different areas to have the opportunity to take the risks that you might have been able to take, right place, right time, and mentorship for others in order to really take us as a city to the next level?
And you have to answer in 2 minutes.
Oh, no, I got that. Here's what I think. I think Milwaukee has some amazing groups, and there's amazing opportunity to link experience and professional service providers with entrepreneurs in Milwaukee. We have Generator, we have ScaleUp, we have, I mean, you go on and on and on. There are a bunch of groups, and they're actually, they all seem to know each other, so that's a good thing. We've got a really nice climate that we've built here. The fear for me, it's easy for us to hire salespeople. We've got great salespeople that we just hired this month, great service people. It's hard for us to hire technology folks with the right skill set and the right amount of experience here in Milwaukee. We're right about to make the choice to have remote development, which I personally don't care for, but I'd rather have an excellent developer remote than an average one here. And so that scares me. The effective unemployment rate for technology development folks in Wisconsin is 0. The effective unemployment rate for manufacturing and high-skilled welders is 0. Now that's scary. So now we have a bigger problem, and I think the bigger problem is how do we take these amazing students that we're graduating that are here already, not just from the Marquette and UWMs, but from the MATCs and all the other places, and how do we, 1, make them as employable as we can, and 2, how do we keep them here? And how do we maybe even, oh my gosh, attract some from outside to come and move here? And that's where making our city amazing and doing things like Milwaukee and making this an attractive place and showcasing the fact that we have amazing professional sports, we have amazing performing arts, we have amazing visual arts. This is a fun place to live. And actually global warming is helping our climate. I mean, we've got to go out and start touting that rather than apologizing for the things that aren't quite right about our city, and go out and get these folks here and create that buzz so that we have the workforce. Because we've set ourselves up for success, but we're also kind of our own worst enemy because we're afraid to tout the success when it happens.
Andy Nunemaker, on behalf of everybody, I want to thank you for spending time with us. And I think, as I've just heard it being reflected in other people, thank you for being who you are.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
There's probably still warm coffee out there. And please fill out your evaluation forms for us. Thank you all for coming. We'll be having Meet the Masters series in 2016. And we really would like your recommendations of people who you'd like to spend an more intimate, I think, 45 minutes with, even though you may have heard their name and seen them on a stage somewhere. So please give us your suggestions, Andy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was wonderful.
Thanks.